Here, I'm still clapping.
Did it again.
Good morning.
That's too abrupt when you cut
I
it.
know. You guys are all just getting into it, right?
Exactly. It's just
I
like you get
know.
me into my groove and then suddenly.
So good morning, Awakenings Within.
Good
Mugs
morning.
up.
So I have Bubba this morning.
Bubba,
I'm feeling Bubba-ish today.
You're Bubba-ish.
Bubba-ish.
So happy New Year. I haven't talked to you since the New Year.
Yeah. Happy
How
New
is
Year to you as well.
2021 going on? How's it going? Everybody, how are ya? And all things YouTube, thank you for stopping in and giving me a like. I appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a few people roused up this morning and join us.
Right. Yes, for the new year, we're going to do some new things.
Yeah.
Bob
That's
doesn't
cool.
know yet. I haven't told him yet.
Surprises are coming.
You just
that's
wait.
good.
You better hold on.
You know how to stimulate my thinking because I love the new things and innovative things.
It's 2021. We've got to do something different. So
yeah,
we have to have a different structure, maybe different structure of the show. We have
Ooh.
new things going on. I know.
So what if I'm a grumpy old man and
you can't
be stubborn and go, I liked it the old way. I like my old socks and my old slippers.
Well, change. I mean,
okay.
It's a new year. We got to do new thing.
New things.
So
out with the old, in with the new.
That's right. That's right. So livening up the show, this coffee chat. If you were going to watch a show, I have questions for you all. Good morning, Heather. If you were going to watch a show, what keeps your interest the most? I have a question. Put it in the comments. What keeps your interest in a show? Just curious.
Well, when I was a little kid growing up in Milwaukee, the thing that kept our interest was Bozo the Clown.
Oh, so you'd be willing to put on clown gear?
Yeah, Bozo was like this famous clown from Chicago.
Yes,
he was on one of the Chicago stations. And
I met Bozo.
God,
Yeah, I met Bozo in Chicago. I took my kids to see him. Yeah,
he was like a rock star in the world of children.
Yes. So Bob, when you're watching a show, what keeps your interest?
Well, for me, I like things that make me think. I'm one of those people. As much as I was teasing about being a curmudgeon-y old man, the truth is that I like to be challenged. I like somebody to just throw in a perspective that makes me go, I need to think about that. Right.
But on a Monday morning, really? Really? Do we have to do that on a Monday morning? I don't know about that. So good morning, Bill. Nice to see you. Bill, I've been friends with for a bit since the show started, and his son did this really neat thing a couple of months ago. And it was called Thunder Gong, and it's for people that are amputees, and they get new appliances. So it's a volunteer kind of thing. And they actually had locally here a show about it. So his son is a drummer and part of all that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, Bill. Thank you for connecting me with your son. And that was a really neat thing that he does. So let's see. So Heather says the topic and interaction. Okay. I hear feedback. I don't know if it's me or not. So let's see. Oh, Michael says the shoes and outfits of the male.
So Mikey wants the GQ look, right?
so Mike, well, for one, I don't think we've seen his shoes ever. We don't even know if he's wearing shoes. He could be wearing slippers right now, which I'm not even going to say. I
could be the barefoot host.
The barefoot host, yes. And then Heather, she watched Bozo when she lived in Chicago. I didn't know that you lived in Chicago.
He was a staple of our childhood.
He was. He
Right. And
was.
they even turned him into a cartoon and everything. So
Yeah, and my kids, when they were little, they got to meet him. He was at
wow.
a little children's fair thing, and they brought him in, and he had his whole thing on.
Oh,
And it
he
was
was a
really
rock
good.
star. I mean, it was like
Yeah,
a big deal if you got to be on the show.
Yeah.
In the studio. That was like a huge deal. So.
I remember watching him in St. Louis. We saw it too. I mean, I guess they
Well, it went
broadcast
national. I mean, Bozo ended up going from being a little regional thing to a big national thing.
Yeah. I don't have near enough coffee today.
Really?
Yes. The new year. Okay, this is a New Year Monday. So
yeah, so I was kind of curious, like how you got through the holidays. What did you do? Did you socialize? Did you stay?
Yes, I actually hung out with one of our
cave. I can't imagine corralling
person.
Sandy into any environs.
Well, I went to one. I hung out with Heather.
Well, yes, I saw those photos. That was sweet.
I hung out with Heather.
Yeah, and somebody else too. There was a few girlfriends. So I was like, wow.
No, just her and I. No, it was just the two. of
us. Heather said she lived in Bolingbrook. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
When you're driving into Chicago, you see I think there's a big water tower. It says Bolingbrook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I lived way up. I lived in North Chicago. So Great Lake. Well, I lived in Great Lakes.
Great Lakes. Right. Oh yeah, that way.
He was a company commander. He pushed boots. So that was fun. No, that was the worst place I've ever lived in my whole life. It was not fun.
Especially this time of year.
Oh my gosh. That wind off the lake was ridiculous. Oh, it was just me, Sandy, and the horse. Yes. A horse made an appearance.
Oh, wow.
You know, the horse was really cool. She had hair like mine. It was really neat.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. Pretty interesting, right? What did you all do? What did you do for New Year's? What did you do?
What did I do? Nothing.
Nothing? You stayed home? Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed home. Well, one, I'm not a big crowd person, even whether there was COVID or not COVID. You know? Yeah. So yeah. And then it was just kind of crazy, and I was just tired. I don't know. This has been such an intense year, and I don't know. I'm indicative of everyone else, but it was sort of 2020 was an exhausting year.
I hate it. Why the word debriding comes to mind. That's with the burn patient, that when they get rid of the skin that was burned. Do some debriding. So yeah, what is this, Michael? Bob, you can't keep baby Sandy in the corner. Yeah, no, you can't keep baby in the corner. Yeah, no. I think I've proven that this year with our audience that I'm a little bit opposing, rebellious.
Rebellious. That's the word you're looking for.
Good way.
A little rebellious,
but in a good way.
Right.
Right.
Well, I remember I told you some months ago, I think we were talking about
Morning, Larry.
This one of my favorite books, which is called Born to Rebel.
Oh.
And I think all of us have a bit of a rebellious streak, but I'm particularly fascinated by rebellion because at first glance, the word rebellion has negative connotations, right? It's like you're a rule breaker, you're a troublemaker, most institutions will expel you. And yet the converse side of this equation is it's the rebellious ones who have actually moved the world forward. So it's one of these words that's actually paradoxical, right? On the one hand, we don't like it when we want to get everybody, going in the same direction and sort of lockstep.
Yes.
On our institutional perspective. Yes. And yet it's these rebellious ones who have gotten us where we are now. So
because they go against the system, I guess, the conformists. I'm not a conformist. Well, say hi to Dr. B. Hi, Dr. B. And he's cold.
Dr. B's out of the state. He's up in Minnesota. I
was gonna say it's cold here. I'm like, what? It's here. I'm freezing. Yes.
Yeah, he's up in Minnesota.
What's he doing in Minnesota?
Oh, that's a whole nother issue. He's got both a good and a bad thing he's dealing with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, sending
And trying
you
to help one
positive.
person and trying to console others. So
Yeah.
at the same time, so we keep him in our prayers.
Okay. Prayers for you. So yes, the rest of you guys watching, what did you do for the new year? And what did you say to yourself before the new year started? I know I know some of us are not resolution people. I'm not a resolution person usually, but I did want to, I can already tell the way my first 3 days is going that I'm in a transformative already place. So transforming into what's the next thing. So what's the first word that comes to mind on where you're going this year or what's happening? Because obviously nothing has changed from last year as far as our, COVID,
Well, you said you're not
vaccine, politics.
a
No,
resolution person. I was
no,
thinking you're a revolution person.
a revolution. That's what I'm wondering.
That's what went through my mind when you said I'm not a resolution. I went, that's because you're a revolution.
I said, let's wait and see. I'm a realist. Yeah, I'm a realist as well. I'm definitely if I start going into la la land and on something, I get I call it the smackdown. God kind of does a smackdown to me every time that happens with me. He brings me back to the reality. Unfortunately. I can get caught up into
Well,
the la la land, but right now is a serious time. When are they doing the
I
electoral
think it's
college? Tomorrow or
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
I
So
think
that's going to
Georgia thing
be
is tomorrow, and then Wednesday's the
it's going to be
electoral
interesting.
college.
It's
Well,
going
you know
to
what? You know how we've talked about, there's this, I think Watchman Nee was the guy that sort of is well known for breaking down our spiritual sense of self into three parts: body, soul, spirit. So it's like three concentric circles, right? Which are spirits
it
at
is.
the core,
Right.
then our soul, which is our mind, emotions, and our will, and then our body. Well, I sort of see life um, as a circle anyways. It's like Lion King, the circle of life. So there's sometimes these symbols,
I like that song.
actually have connections to creation. Well,
Yes.
the same sort of concentric circles are in our lives, right? So there's ourselves,
Yep.
there's our family, there's our community,
Yes.
local community, there's our nation,
Yes.
there's the world, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I've had to do, what I've been doing a lot of thinking over the holidays, is which one of these 4 or 5 concentric circles do I have any control over?
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't it the same answer as last year? I don't know.
Well, it is. It's not any different, but
It's not different.
it's coming to the realization that there's just certain things outside of your control and that you got to let go of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's sort of like if you hang on to them, they'll be like sandbags in your balloon. They'll ground you. They'll take you down.
Yes.
And so it's like control what you can.
That's right.
Which is you. Your relationships with your friends and family.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And Robert, thank you for joining this morning, Robert. Happy New Year's. Okay. Yeah, keep the momentum, the motivation. And that's what I say. That's what I like about New Year's is I feel like you have an opportunity. Say that at any time of the year, for some reason, New Year's makes you think of new, right? So it kind of pushes you forward into a better mindset of doing something more motivative, I think. And that's why I don't do resolutions, but I feel like it can change your mindset and make you think of more positive things on how to change your life and what you've been doing, kind of pulling you out of that doldrum. I think it's, for some reason, people think of that as their only opportunity, but every day you wake up is a new opportunity to do that. You don't have to wait for New Year's. You can do it every single day. And, that's the coaching encourager in me. Oh, you're not penalized for drinking tea because Bob doesn't drink coffee with me either. He doesn't.
I
It's
do
sad.
before you,
It's
not with you.
sad. He doesn't ever drink coffee with me. Yes, you have control of yourself. Choose wisely. Because the only person that's going to impact the changes that you make in your life is you. So, I mean, it can be a domino effect. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, you have an opportunity every single day to wake up and to make a mindset change. I'll be honest, like, first day after New Year's, first 2 days, I was in a funk. I mean, and that's not like me. I usually wake up and I'm like peppy and happy and, you know, and I was like in a funk and I was trying to figure it all out, you know, as to, you know, and that's where you have to go. Like now I'm so introspective, you know, that I really, I thank God for maturity. You know, thank God for adult maturity, you know, to really sit back and go, okay, what's going on? You know, say to yourself, okay, and not reacting, you know, that's key into making yourself more mature and not reactionary and emotional, you know, is to really just sit back and go, okay, why am I feeling this way? What triggered me to do this? And what change do I need to make to pull me out of it? Or, you know, what's going on? Sometimes you just have to feel that thing, you know? I mean, I don't know. Don't you think? I mean, you have to go through it.
One of the keys is the phrase "know yourself," because the reason I say that is that we're all wired so uniquely.
Yeah.
You know, God's created a very diverse human race, and so one person's means of getting out of, you call it the funk, I call it the malaise, is different than another.
That sounds really nice. That sounds
malaise. But it's true, you know, like, so with me, you know, I'm empathic. And so there's strengths and weaknesses in being empathic. And one of the weaknesses is being in crowds of people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for those that don't understand empathicness, it's kind of like having a spirit like flypaper. Everything sticks to it.
Right.
So there are seasons for me where I just have to be alone.
Yeah.
And the aloneness isn't, it's just simply because I get overloaded.
Yeah.
Right.
And see,
where
I'm
for another
opposite.
person like you, or maybe a Mike Jones or somebody, or especially Dr. B, you know, getting with people is actually, you know, your way of getting out of your malaise or your funk is just the opposite.
Yes, because I have to be other centered.
Yeah.
And not me centered. And that's what gets me, you know, I have to be serving or doing or helping or, you know, that pulls me out faster than anything. I mean, if I just sit here and think about myself, I'll die.
Yeah.
Not I'll die, but you know, I'm being a little dramatic there.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, but yeah. Oh, and she's talking about, I left that comment up there. I didn't mean to, but yeah. How could I be in a funk after partying with a horse? I know we had a great time with that horse, but we got to be careful on how we talk about it because they have no idea what we're talking about. So anyway, you absorb all the energy in big groups. Yes. So she's an empath too. And
Heather would understand what I'm talking about. It's interesting because people that are empathic, you know, we're often jealous of people like you that have the capacity to get in large groups of people and get energized and uplifted and walk out of there kind of on a high.
Yeah, because I can compartmentalize.
When we walk out of there feeling like we got the weight of the world on us, we're feeling everybody's shoes underneath, you know?
I compartmentalize. I go, if I walk up to this person, I'm like, how are you doing? And then they go, oh, and they go, da, 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 da. Then I go, oh, I'm so sorry. Give them a slight hug and on to the next person. Cause I don't absorb their stuff. I put a boundary up, I guess you'd say. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's what I'm having to do right now. You know, it's difficult because you know, people that are empaths or introverts or whatever, I mean, we're in a crisis that surrounds us. You can't get away from it.
Right.
You know,
There's many crises.
Dr. B's dealing with a situation where there's loss, and it's been a tough year for my soul because of the fact that I have so many people have suffered loss this year.
And
I feel for every one of them. And then, where it gets even worse is that there's this thing inside of me, this rescuer side of me, remember Marvin's Triangle, there's this rescuer side in me that wants to go help everyone, but I don't have the capacity.
See, and I'm the type that does want to help.
I have limited resources. And you're then that ends up getting it right. And so it's like, I got to just step back sometimes and just get real quiet and get in my little space and go, okay, breathe,
Breathe. Right. So Heather is like that too. Yeah. And see, I think Larry and I are probably on the same. He's a Mr. Motivator, Mr. Positive, Mr.
But here's the neat thing about it is that people like us need people like you,
Well,
it's like, have to, people, it's like we can spin off the road and get stuck in the ditch, and guys like you and Larry come along and hook up to us and pull us out of the ditch and get us back on the road.
Here we go, chin up, Buttercup.
Mike Jones does that for me probably more than anyone. He'll call me up and we'll have a great conversation. And I had been feeling kind of lost or whatever, and then by the time I get done, I'm like, yeah,
that's right.
So we have people in our lives. So as you get older, you start looking around in your life and you realize, I think that
these
people are good for me,
Well, we have to have the opposing, the yin and yang, you have to have the opposing everything. I mean, that just, for us to get anything done,
Right. I could spend my life hidden writing books. You know what I mean? I could be, A.W. Tozer was like that. You know what I mean? He just lived his whole life sequestered in his office writing, and he wrote some amazing books that have inspired generations, but he wasn't much of a social person, and he didn't have much of a marriage, and his kids weren't real thrilled about him as a dad. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Well, see, I've always, so for 2021, is there something new that you want to encounter this year, that you want to try to do that you haven't done before? Has there been anything that's come to mind to you so far? Like, I'm going to do this differently this year, or, I'm going to tackle something I've wanted to do before. Because really, if anything 2020 taught us is that our time is limited, and we need to get things done that we want to get done, and we need to live in the moment, and we need to enjoy the moment, enjoy our people in our life, and all of those things. Is there something new that you've thought of, Bob? Anything new?
Well, and all the audience, but I'm not going to share it on the air yet because it's circulating.
Oh, yes. Well, you're a processor.
I don't want, I've learned a long time ago that if you prematurely share an idea before it's time, that's right.
That's the difference between the extrovert and the introvert.
That my hint of it is that we're pondering relational things.
Okay. So Bob and I want to party like rock stars with Darlington and the Hamptons. Oh, okay. There you go, Michael. Yes. See, us extroverts.
We're going to hang with the Kennedys,
All right. The Kennedys. So see, and that's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. An extrovert will actually say, yes, I've thought I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put it out there right now, because then I'm going to do it. Right. Because if extroverts don't say it and don't bring it into fruit, it won't happen. Right. So we have to actually put it out there, because then we're accountable to it. It's like in the way that
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I spent 10 years of my life building a church with somebody like that, and we had some personality conflicts, because about 50% of what he said never happened. Right?
Because he's just putting it out there. It's a vision, right? He was a visionist. Yeah, he's a visionary. Visionaries do that.
Well, but we were in our 20s and didn't understand. I didn't understand that at the time that introverts are like submarines, which is you don't see them until they've got 90% of whatever their goal or their idea or whatever is through the thought process, and they only come up at 90% to get the last 10% of confirmation and encouragement to go do it. So, or the extrovert, it's like when it's in seed form, it's already out there. and I didn't understand those two personalities. So it was driving me crazy because everything was external processing, but it was all done in the context that this is absolutely going to happen.
Right. Right. I mean, and okay, so there's different people in that too. Like I know people that are good idea makers, but they're not the ones that are going to carry it out. So they have to get that other person to support them and to actually make it happen and carry it out. So there's some visionaries, extroverts that need that second person to be and usually it's an introvert that will actually structure it and make it happen, put it out there. So you do need that.
The introverts are like the brakes that keep the car.
What are you talking about? Logic coming in here? No.
At high speed.
You just dashed my dreams. What's wrong with you? You just brought logic. We don't need no logic. We're gonna stay up here. We're going to be up here for a little while.
But that, what's interesting is that's just part of the divine dynamic tensions that God's put into creation.
Yes.
So it's a good dynamic if you understand it. But when you're in your 20s and you really don't understand human nature, it's like it's a conflict. I didn't understand at the time that this was actually a good dynamic and that we needed to look at it as a positive thing. It just drove me crazy.
Right. Because you're like, why are you not thinking like I'm thinking? Why are you being so reckless with your thoughts and your
where my thinking was. So it's one thing, like I used to tell them all the time, it's one thing if you do this for yourself, right? Because then if you fail, the only person that gets impacted is you. But when you're leading a whole organization and you do that,
that's not good.
You don't fulfill what you've envisioned.
Exactly.
Disillusionment. And so here my empathic self was feeling bad for all the people who felt disillusioned by unfulfilled expectations.
Right. And Larry, thank you for sharing our stream. If you are a regular, could you share our stream? We would appreciate that, by the way.
That would be nice.
Because that's one thing on my list for the new year is if you guys would start sharing this out and, if we can grow our audience and but anyway, thank you guys. No, I also want to say a huge thank you and appreciation to all of you that have joined us since way back. It seems like it's way back. It was only in May or before that, but way back in the day. I mean, this has been a journey.
So this show was birthed out of a crisis.
This show was birthed out of an unmet trip to Israel, to the Holy Land. I mean, that's what's awesome.
It's interesting, right? Because I posted on my Facebook page this morning, one of the statements that Joseph made in hindsight of his journey, which was what you meant for evil, God meant for good.
Yes.
And one of the interesting dynamics of life is that often in crisis or in difficult situations, something really good comes out of it.
That's right.
It's these paradoxes in life, right? Yes. And so I guess I was pointing out the fact that this show, which is, I hope, and I think based on what people have said, has been a kind of an encouraging community of people that have got us through this crisis. Actually came together because of something not good.
Yes. And I want to just say Happy New Year to Kathy. And Happy New Year, Kathy. She has a show too.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome.
Doc and Queenie show is what it's called. It's really cute. It is. It's a great show. She's a motivator. She's a networker. She's partners with Larry. So
Wonderful.
They're Kangen Water partners, and so anyway, just say hi to you, to Kathy. So anyway, that's what I hope. Awakenings Within was not named by me.
Mm-hmm.
So God named it, first of all. It was birthed from God. And so that's what's been so awesome about it, is that I didn't feel the burden of it because it was never my burden. It was not my, it wasn't, I'm a visionary, but because of what God gives me. And when I acknowledge that and I know that, he'll give me more, which is great. Right. So it's not always coming from me. Sometimes it's coming from him. And so, I come up with ideas sometimes, of course, on my own, but what I'm saying is this show absolutely is 100% God centered, because he's the one that inspired it and made it happen. I was supposed to have done this show on the banks of the Holy Land when I was in Israel, and that was in March, and I didn't go, obviously. So we got shut down. We got shut down a week before we were supposed to go. So that's what makes this show,
So you launched it. You were going to do live broadcasts from the Holy Land.
Yes.
That was going to initiate the show.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. I was supposed to be on the banks.
Joseph-esque journey, right?
Yeah.
I think, Joseph thought he was going in one direction, and he ended up somewhere else. But if you go back and look at life, I've talked about this often with people. I mean, how few of us are actually where we thought we were going to be.
Oh yeah.
Often you look back in your life and you were going this way and you ended up way over here because of other circumstances outside of your control. Yeah. And often you kind of look back and go, well, actually, this turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes.
Not always, but sometimes.
Not always.
Like,
sometimes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It actually saved me from something worse, or
Well, I mean, if you would have asked me it's 2021, 5 years ago, that whole 5 years thing, what will you be doing in 5 years? And I think it's funny, those memes that happened last year, that they were like, nobody forecasted what I would be doing in 5 years for 2020. But I thought I would be a pastor of a church. Yeah. I thought I would, have some successes in that way, personally and professionally. And none of that happened. And so, I've always kind of lived my life. I would say in the moment. I would say day to day. I don't think I ever, tried to project my future too far ahead. You just kind of deal with what I was dealing with at the time. And so that's helped me to be able to transition and transform and to change, all the time. And I just have that personality type. But I definitely see the value in putting forth something and calling it a vision and making it kind of happen. But the show was not my vision. It was not me at all. I would have never, last year, I would have never told you, hey, I'm going to be a live streamer next year. I'm going to have 3 shows in 1 week. Yay. Like I didn't put it out there, but I'm so happy. Like this has been an opportunity to learn something new, and to interact with people in a whole different way, and exactly the way we needed when we needed it. And that's what's been amazing, is building this community during this time where we couldn't get out and be a community and be, and that's what I'm finding to be so amazing, how God works.
Well, I posted something last week or the week before and it was, one's vision is not a roadmap, but a compass.
Yes. I didn't see that. I always see your post. I didn't see that one.
I don't know when it was either last week or the week before. So
I'm going to have
not a roadmap, but a compass.
Yeah.
And so, I thought, in my ponderings over the holidays, I was kind of thinking about looking backwards. How would I define 2020? Right. And so my title for 2020 is the year of the face mask.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because of all. I mean, I know we were dealing with a virus, but you can't see it, right?
Yeah.
The thing that defined 2020 to me is something that I only ever saw within a medical facility. A face mask became the norm of our everyday existence, and that now our whole interaction outside of our houses is only seeing people's eyes.
Yeah.
So to me, 2020 is the year of the face mask.
Do you know that Michael and Tina had a masquerade New Year's Eve party last year with all of us in face masks?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I
said, "Oh, you were?"
Yep.
Oh, well, I didn't meet you then. I was there.
Maybe that was the year before. I was at one of those New Year's Eve parties.
Well, I was there, and all the memories started popping up. So me and my girlfriends, we all had the masks on. Heather was there. Anyway, so we thought that was very interesting. We're like, can you believe that we started 2020 with the face mask? So the other night, thank you, Heather. Now does that mean I get a horse this year? I started with the horse.
Well, so if 2020 was, in my view, if I could give it a title, the year of the face mask.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of dynamics, right? In terms of how it all played out, the word that comes to the forefront of my thinking is adaptation. In other words, 2020 was a year of adaptation, right? Because our visions, which were roadmaps, we thought were roadmaps, suddenly became a compass because the details all got shifted. How we wanted to get to our goals, everything shifted.
Yes.
So whether you were a multinational corporation, whether you were a religious institution, whether you were a government institution,
everything got challenged.
Whether you were a private citizen with your own little entrepreneurial thing, every single entity and person had to adapt.
Yeah.
And so as we go into 2021, that adaptation is continuing, right? Yeah. And so all of us are reconfiguring our lives. Because we have to adapt, right? Which is what happens all the time. I mean, humanity's basically got to where it is now because it's had to adapt against nature.
Yes.
And so we're that adaptation scenario is carried over into 2021. So I see 2021 as just another year of adapting, where there's a whole lot of more change coming. And so we've just really got to be light on our feet. If you can imagine, again, I see things in word pictures. So, adaptation to me is changing direction, right? You have to change direction.
Yes.
Well, if you're driving a big cumbersome semi truck, try to make a 90-degree turn at high speed, you tip over.
It's
but
not
if you're low to the ground in a light little car, you can make that turn.
Yeah.
And so I would say to me, that
isn't that called jackknifing?
2021 is to uncumber yourself.
That's good.
If you're asking me how I'm feeling about it, it's like I think you need to uncumber yourself, get light on your feet, flexible, so that you can adapt. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That's where when you're asking me about how I'm viewing 2021, it's uncumber, get light on my feet, and be ready to adapt.
That's right. Well, they're having a little sideboard over here. It is all Michael Jones' fault, by the way, and he's feeling really guilty about the whole entire pandemic. Well, it is his fault.
If you want to get very morbid, it reminds me of an Edgar Allan Poe. What was that guy? Vincent Price.
Oh yeah. Oh, Vincent Price. Love Vincent Price.
I know, but remember all those horror movies, and then
Oh yeah,
it's
those
like a
were
dark,
scary.
so your masquerade, you know what I mean, where
Our
you're wearing the
masquerade.
masks, right?
Yes, we had that
What
mask.
did you
Well,
usher
you
in,
were
all of you?
so Bob, you were there.
I think I was. I was at one of those movies.
did
You
you
might
have a
could probably
mask?
remember better than I could.
That's funny. Well, he just said that you danced on the floor and dropped. Yeah, you dropped all night in the middle of the dance floor. So anyway, well, obviously for me, because God named it for me, right back in March, it was an awakening within. So I kind of went with that. So for me, it was an awakening. It was an awakening of things, in myself even, and in my reality of relationships and everything. And then this year, for me, I logically think, okay, well, if that was the awakening within, then what do you do after you have that awakening within? Well, you're going to do something with that. And, there's going to be a revelation of some sort, right? So I'm looking at this year as the revelation time. What is the revelation of all of these things? It's almost like it's come to a point, like what is my revelation? What am I supposed to have learned? And what am I supposed to do? And so that's how I work. That's how I think. So, and that's for me personally. So I'm like, okay, let's take the revelations of all of those things. And what am I supposed to do with it now? And how am I supposed to go forward? What am I supposed to do with that knowledge? So that's just kind of where
I think one of the things we have to be careful of, and I see it, coming out in the majority of people, and it's this: when we get back to normal.
What normal? There's no normal.
That's it. See, it's interesting to me because there's this. So there's, and the reason I say that is because I think that's an unrealistic expectation. Because normal has number one, it's just a variety. I mean, everyone's version of normal is so different, but there's this sort of illusion that on the other side of this pandemic, we're going to go back to normal.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go backwards.
Yeah, you never go backwards. See, I find that interesting how many people are living. It's sort of like I'm surviving this, right? I'm dog paddling to keep my head above water, and I'm just waiting it out so it'll get back to normal. And normal always is defined by what things were, but things never stay the same. You see, I mean, I don't understand the logic.
That's a bad mindset.
I understand the emotions of it, right?
Yeah. So good morning. I just want to say hi to Grace. Good morning, Grace, on the first Monday of the new year. Thank you for joining us. So this is the new normal. Let's roll. Yeah. That's Larry. That's right, Larry. So, but I don't I've never been stuck in normal. So so maybe I have to say that with my adapting skills of last year, like I can see how a person like me was able to, be okay. I call it the monkey bars. I was okay being on the monkey bars because I'm used to being on the monkey bars because I think I kind of, my whole life has kind of been like that. So I'm okay with going to the next ring. I'm okay with getting to the end and then starting over and doing it again. I don't have to be, I don't have to have everything the same day. In fact, I'm one of those people that had to have a job that's different every day. I was a claims analyst at an insurance company, and I had to go into work every day and think, I got to just get through this day. And then I'll go to the next one. Okay. I just got to get through this day, because to me, that was almost like prison. It felt like I was in a cubicle prison, because if anything I didn't like was something to be the same every single day. I just couldn't, and I should have recognized that about myself a lot sooner than that. But what was good about that job is it was a good springboard for me to see that, yes, I'm not good in that arena, but two, it's because I have leadership kind of skills as well. So I want to be the person telling the person sitting in the cubicle, how to do this and that, but I also want it to change and be better for them. So,
Right.
so I want to constantly be shifting and changing. So a person like me, last year, it wasn't easy. And I look at a lot of relationships and a lot of difficulties that I faced and said, and am now saying, oh, I wish I would have handled something differently, or, I wish because for me, it wasn't as difficult as it was for someone that's an introvert and processes things and has some anxiety and some fears. For those people, last year was very, very difficult. And, I really hope that they have been able to process it at this point and go forward. And you could speak to that, Bob, since you're kind of in that vein. I don't know if anxiety's in there at all, because our center of God probably changes some things too.
Yeah.
Having that center of God is what I think. Still, I'm an optimist, but I also have to look back to God to go, okay, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing?
For me, what centers me is I am keenly aware that I am a spiritual creature in a physical body. So therefore, I live with that worldview, which makes me an eternal creature, in two worlds. And so while my physical world, you know what I mean, is deteriorating, i.e. my human body, I'm going to be 64 soon. All right. So my physical external shell is deteriorating, but my spirit is young and wholesome. And that's my reality. I live in light, or in the perspective of eternity. So while things around me, in the physical world can get shaky and unstable, the things in my internal eternal world don't change. They don't shift.
Right.
They're immovable. They're, you know what I mean?
That's good.
And so that's my anchor. So
Right.
Sometimes I'm sitting there in this space, and it's like I'm watching everything around me.
You're watching.
In the chaos, and
see, I don't sit back and watch. That's the difference. Like I don't have time for that. I'm not going to sit back and watch. I'm just going to read. I don't react though. I mean, I'm at a mature point. When I was younger, I would react, and I would do a knee jerk, and that got me into lots of trouble. So now I'm better at not reacting and waiting to see, what's happening. And I mean, I think that's just getting to know yourself. At 52, I better know myself at this point, I think. I mean, a lot of people don't, though. A lot of people don't take the time because they listen to somebody else on who they think they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to act. And two, they're just not accepting of who they are, right? That, I don't want to get that deep. What time is it? It's not.
One of the things that the reason, I've been thinking a lot about this whole adaptation thing, and partly again, because of my unique journey in life, I have a more global perspective than I do American perspective, honestly. Well, I don't know if it's more, it's probably equal. But I spent so much time outside of the United States. Well, one thing that you begin to realize is normal has a really broad spectrum. And I'll give you an example. 45 to 47% of the world lives on less than $5.50 a day.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Nearly half of the world's population lives on $5.50 a day or less, meaning that every day of their life is adaptation. Every day of their life is lived in a world where they have to survive. Now, bring that across the pond here to the United States. In the
Mhm.
early 1900s, nearly 65 to 70% of our population lived in the rural areas and
Yeah.
lived on farms. They were self-sufficient,
Yes.
right? The
Yep.
goods that they bought were usually metal, leather, implements they needed, right? But what
Yeah.
they needed to survive, they predominantly didn't, right? So they
Mhm.
adapted, right? What's happened in 3 generations is we've become urbanized and system dependent. And so one of the reasons why so many people right now have anxiety is because they're completely vulnerable to these systems, right?
Systems.
And
Right.
so it's interesting right now. Like I'll give you, if you think this through, this is our normal, but this wasn't normal years ago.
No.
So when COVID hit, right, where did everybody turn for a solution? To the federal government, right?
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
president's responsibility to save us all from
Right.
this pandemic.
Right.
Now, that's normal to us, right? But that's historically
No.
not normal,
No. It's
right?
not.
Nobody
No.
looked to any leaders to deliver us, right? And
Right.
so I mean, this is, again, I'm sorry, but this is my ponderings over the holidays, but I'm fascinated because of the sociologist in me of just how in our thinking
Well,
we've
okay.
shifted, right?
So you're saying that we haven't ever looked at that, but in the Bible, clearly there's times when the people looked totally to whoever it was that was leading. It,
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't
yeah.
have leadership. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's
Well,
interesting,
mhm.
we're all, think about this. So that's one example, but we all now are employees. You know what I mean? The
Right.
vast majority of people are employees. We're dependent on someone else to create a context for us to earn a living.
Yeah.
That makes us feel super vulnerable. That's why there's so
Oh,
many
yeah.
people suffering right now and having financial struggles because we were dependent on others.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah.
throwing this out there, not to any great conclusion, but
Yes.
to get you to stop and think a little bit about what's normal, right?
What the
And
normal is.
and in 2021, as you're thinking through your life and your goals and your vision and what you want to do, one of the things that I would just suggest you ponder is how to make yourself less dependent on other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. In
Yeah.
other words, because the more dependent you are on other things, the more vulnerable you are to the whims and maturations of other people.
Well,
The
I mean,
domino effect, right?
clearly, this pandemic has showed us the cracks of all of that, and it clearly has shown us how dependent we are, like you're saying, and then how what is it we're supposed to do? What's in your own control of doing that? Well, most of us have jobs that are dependent on other people.
Right.
Our jobs are all dependent and intermingled with other people. If that link in that chain goes down, you're going down.
Yeah.
You do right now. I think this new year is like being innovative and trying to think out of the box on how you can sustain yourself without that other chain link, right? I mean,
And
how
that shift
yeah,
happened during World War II or after
yeah.
World War II.
And that's
Because
why so
World
many
War II was
businesses yeah,
basically a whole bunch of
yeah,
rural farm boys going to war. I mean, the vast
right,
majority of soldiers in World War II that fought and died came from rural communities.
right,
They
right.
came back, the GI Bill, they went to school,
Yeah,
they came out and they built stuff. We
right.
were a manufacturing
Yes.
machine. You know what I mean? We built
Yes, that's when the
factories,
women
we
went to
produced
work.
goods,
That's
and we
when the
were
women went to
what
work.
China is
Mhm.
now. We were in the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah, we went to work. The women finally got to go to work. They had to go to work. It
Right.
wasn't even just
So
because they
now
had
what's
to.
happened is
Mhm.
we've outsourced all of our making stuff
Mhm.
overseas, And Americans have now we trade information. And so technology, right? IT has become the dominant industry, right? But we're pushing data, right? We're not making anything.
Right. We are giving some money though.
It was exciting. The reason
there's some money going there.
My nephew called me over the weekend, and he and a bunch of millennials and those guys, they've actually started a face mask manufacturing company here in Kansas City. And I was like, yes, go for it. You know what I mean? It's like you're making something. You know what I mean? You know, they've got a factory in the bottoms. They got everything set up. They got all the equipment, and they're going to make stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is where the whole country needs to get back to again, making our own stuff.
We do.
But that's what the jobs are, you know. But I mean, but again, and you become, you know, you create your own income, you generate, you know. But I think that's the adaptation again. They're adapting, you know. They right. Because that's what business is. You fulfill a need or a service.
So Larry says, liberate yourself, be in total control of yourself. I agree. We donated our diamonds we used to have here to iCloud, LOL. You donated your diamonds? All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of donating, you know, I really, I mean, I know that you have a nonprofit, correct?
Yeah.
I would love for you to talk about that at some point and tell us what your nonprofit does, because I kind of want to put that into the front. You know, if anybody is feeling like they want to give to a nonprofit, I know that you have one, and I trust you, and I, you know, and that's part of giving to a nonprofit is trusting where the funds are going. So maybe at some point we could talk about, you know, what your nonprofit does. So
yeah, we can do that on a Thursday or something like that.
You want to do that on Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, Dr. B and I both have a passion for Zimbabwe, and
I want to hear about it.
Over the weekend, COVID has ramped up there significantly, and the difference between Zimbabwe and the United States is just so astronomical. They, you know, it was a very sad situation, but a very prominent young man that I know was on Facebook pleading, begging anyone for a hospital bed with a ventilator. I mean, you know, I mean, it's like something that we have in abundance here.
Yeah.
They don't. And so there's just a number of key, very prominent business people, government officials all died last week. And so it's you know, we don't hear about it here. But you know, like in these poorer countries, it's just it's bad. So
okay, well, so maybe on Thursday I would love to talk about the name of your nonprofit.
Yeah, we could do all that then.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, Heather says she's got to run, so you guys have a great day. Yeah, we got to run in a second too. It's a Monday, so I hope your first Monday morning of 2021 started off okay. I hope we talked about some things that get you thinking and get you kind of motivated on, you know, what are you going to do this year? Maybe to be a self-starter, maybe to do something so that you're not dependent on others so much in business or your prosperity, or just reach out to God to ask him for those revelations for your life. Anyway, thank you, Bob. I'll see you on Thursday. Yes.
Thursday.
All right. I'll see all of you Thursday. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. And happy 2021. Mugs up. Mugs up, everybody. Whoop, there we go. Mugs up. And yeah, I know. I'm not doing
bearings here. Bye-bye.
And peace out, you guys. Take care. Bye, Bob. Have a great Monday.
Join us Monday mornings at 8:45 a.m. and Thursdays 6:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. See you then.